Hi guys, hope you've had a sensational day. Now tonight we're talking about something that most parents have experienced. It's severe, it's harsh and it's intense. We're talking about the witching hour, and we're going to be answering three key questions to help parents with newborn babies. The witching hours is something that is actually a perfectly normal phenomenon, believe it or not. It's something that newborn babies experience. Unfortunately, it is brutal for the parents and it's a testing time, and it actually has many parents feeling helpless and at some stage, and a lot of the times right on the edge. But the good news is that there are ways to help parents overcome this challenging time. Now, as we know, knowledge is power, and we love this. So tonight we're really excited to share with you some key information that will help us understand what the witching hours is, why it occurs, with tips how to calm your baby and to keep your baby happy during this testing time. So tonight we are really thrilled for the very first time to introduce you to one of our new partners, and we love her to bits. This is Leanne Trevor, founder and CEO from Mother in Touch Baby Sleep Consultancy. And Leanne is listen to this is incredible. Leanne is a certified paediatric sleep consultant, a midwife and registered nurse with over 25 years experience in the medical field. Leanne has developed an approach that combines scientific research with a compassionate understanding of children's needs. Leanne works with families all throughout Australia and worldwide, and offers a range of online and in-home services for parents with children from newborn up to 6 years of age, and guiding them through the helpful steps to ensure they develop healthy sleep habits. And tonight, Leanne's going to be sharing tips to help sleep-deprived and exhausted parents with newborn babies. How are you doing?
Good, thanks, Rach. Lovely introduction, thank you.
And Leanne's invited me into her beautiful home, so I'm really, really honoured to be here with her tonight. So we've recently published your very first article on Kiddipedia, and the title is The Witching Hours, What Causes It and Tips on How to Cope. So for anyone that hasn't read the article yet, can you please just give us a little bit of an overview, and then we'll get straight into the three questions.
Okay, so the witching hour, is it real? I guess that's what people talk about it, and it's a term that's commonly used among parents, and it is real. Mm-hmm. And usually it's associated with younger babies, mm-hmm. and it's a time of extreme fussiness. So you get a newborn baby, and when I say newborn, we're talking about 3 months or under, mm-hmm. generally. They become very fussy, and it usually occurs of an afternoon, mm-hmm. around the time when mum's exhausted, she's had a hard day, other kids are coming home, dad's coming home, she's got to prepare dinner. So it occurs between 5 p.m. through to about 10 p.m. The baby's just fussing and won't settle, basically. And mum just is at a wit's end, doesn't know what to do. So it definitely is real. It usually starts around week 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. The first 3 weeks of a newborn baby's life, they sleep. And the reason they sleep is when they're born, they've got this maternal melatonin that comes from the mum through to the baby, and that causes them to have this melatonin which lets them sleep. And I often hear parents will say, oh, they were just a dream baby for the first 3 weeks, and then they woke up. Well, that's the melatonin getting out of the baby system. So yes, they do wake up. So you'll start to see this fussy period from age 2 to 3 weeks. Usually peaks when they're about 6 weeks, and it usually disappears by 3 to 4 months of age. And it is real. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a real phenomenon.
It is a real phenomenon, and it is related to the younger babies, as I said. Yeah. Yeah. And it does. The reason that I wrote this article was I see so many distressed parents, and they're not really prepared for it, and they'll say things to me like, why didn't people tell us this? Why doesn't everyone know this? I guess it's just something you have to experience for yourself to actually understand what it's like, and then sort of seek help when you know that you're at your wit's end and you don't know what to do.
I guess for any parents watching, if this is something you have experienced, you've got any questions, by any means, sort of send them through as we're having our chat tonight, and definitely give us a like, or just one of the emojis to let us know how you and what you think of the of the witching hours. But let's get into question number 1. What is the witching hour, and why does it happen?
it happens, as I think I've mentioned, it's due to the hormonal changes for the baby. With a newborn baby, when they're born, their brain's not fully developed, okay? Their sleep patterns are not fully developed until around 4 months of age, and then their sleep patterns are more adult-like. So up until then, their brain's just not in tune with sleep cycles. So they're irregular, and all mums will tell you that for the first 3 months it can be a nightmare for them because the baby is in no pattern, feeds whenever, sleeps whenever, and it's really a difficult time for everybody. But the real witching hour does occur in that early afternoon, and that's when people really struggle with it because it's the time of day when everyone's exhausted. Yeah.
And I guess the question is, how long does that usually last for?
It can last 3 to 4 hours of an evening.
Wow.
Yeah, between 5 and 10 usually is what I find.
Wow, that long?
Yeah. Parents are so distraught. And, dads come home, they're exhausted, mum hands the baby to the dad and says, here, you take him, I can't deal with it anymore, because it's really unsettling. Yeah.
And so the hours you mentioned before that it happens between usually would be from
5 p.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
Quite commonly. You might be lucky and get a baby that's fussy for 2 hours, but it can be longer.
Yeah.
And often what is to blame is colic. This is the other thing that's out
This is
there.
question number 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll get straight into question number 2. Why is colic to blame?
Colic's to blame because I think people want to give it a name. They want to give it a title. And it is not colic does exist, but the differentiation between colic and I guess the witching hour is true colic is where the baby has inconsolable fussiness or pain, and it lasts for 3 hours in a day. It lasts for 3 days out of every week, and it occurs for 3 weeks consistently.
So that's quite a lot of time.
It's a lot, yeah. It's a lot for parents to cope with. And the distinguishing factor is that true colic will occur at any time during the day. And to differentiate, the witching hour is the witching hour, between 5 and 10 p.m, like I said.
Okay, that's a really valid point.
It is
now,
valid.
So colic is also known as reflux, as you said.
Yeah, they tend to put the terms together. It's a gastrointestinal related condition, even though there's no scientific evidence to say that colic is intestinally related, but they will often term it as colic reflux, and they'll be treated as such by doctors.
Yes.
Yeah, with reflux medication.
So colic can be any time of the day.
Yes.
And the witching hours is as you stated.
Which is a true fussy period for a baby.
Yes. Yeah. Some other causes for the witching hours, and this is some things we were just discussing offline before, which I guess we could both sort of maybe go through as well.
Yeah.
Fatigue and maybe bad sleeping patterns. Have you found this as well?
Yeah, totally. I think for what I usually like to do when I see parents with babies that are experiencing this is they are fatigued. So what I do, the steps we take is to avoid that fatigue.
Yes.
And that is to ensure that with a newborn, that the time they're awake is appropriate.
Yes.
Now, for a newborn baby, a lot of people don't know this, some of them can only tolerate 45 minutes of being awake.
Wow.
Otherwise, they're overstimulated, they're overtired, they're fatigued.
Yeah.
Especially, not always the first baby, but they do get handed from mum to dad to relatives to brothers and sisters. So they get overstimulated. Again, that's causing fatigue.
Yes.
So it's a real phenomenon.
Yeah, so daytime activities are stimulating for the baby due to lights, noises and loads of activities, and by the end of the day they may feel exhausted.
Yeah.
And in turn fussy.
Yeah.
Which is sort of exactly as you were saying before.
That's right, yeah.
And also the silence at night can annoy them.
They don't like the silence.
Yes. So have you found that at all?
Well, they do like the white noise.
The white noise,
yeah. Which it's quite common now among parents to know about the white noise. And it is, your parents think they have to, creep around the baby, but they actually don't. A baby will sleep through a loud vacuum cleaner, and that's very much what white noise is. It's like this frequency of noise. And the baby likes it, because that's what they've been listening to in the womb.
Of course.
They've listened to that blood flowing through and it's going shh, and that's white noise. So they don't like quiet.
Yes, so the silence at night does annoy them. That is correct.
It's
okay.
true, yeah.
Another thing, apparently, what causes a witching hour is tummy trouble. And if you're breastfeeding, sometimes your baby, I guess, can still be affected potentially by the mother's,
milk.
and
Yes.
spicy foods and carbonated drinks and caffeine.
Well, it's more related to the prolactin, which is the hormone that produces the milk.
Wow, okay.
And, so what happens is by the end of the day, mum's exhausted, her production of milk is still there, but the flow can be a bit slower and the production can be a bit slower. So when you put the baby to the breast, they'll fuss because the milk's not coming fast enough, and there's not enough, so they get fussy. That's sort of what we see. It's quite normal for a breastfed baby to have this in the afternoon wanting to cluster feed or feed fairly often.
Yes.
And it's because of the prolactin levels dropping for the mum's breast milk.
And so is there any way the mother can overcome that at all?
No, just in the early days it's actually a good thing because what it's doing is building up her milk supply.
Right.
So to get your milk supply fully established, it's about 6 weeks.
Right.
So if the baby's fussing around and feeding a lot in the afternoons, which is the witching hour, it's just improving your breast milk supply.
Well, another thing that they state as well, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, is hunger. So, as you were just saying, babies tend to cluster feed in the evening. Cluster feeds means they are fed far more frequently than they do during the rest of the day, but and sometimes once an hour, which is a lot. But babies who cluster feed apparently have their longest stretch of sleep once they finish their feeds. Have you found that at all?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
It's interesting you got that information, but it is true because I do recommend a frequent feeds during the witching hours, between 6 and 8 or 6 and 10.
Yep.
And then they'll often get a longer stretch overnight. And if you've got a newborn baby and you can get 4, 5, 6 hours, that's heaven.
Well, absolutely it is.
That's heaven. And sometimes that cluster feeding is what the baby needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you just said then, so just to reiterate, so you say during the hours of the witching hours to cluster feed almost once an hour.
Yeah, and the baby will regulate what it takes. If it doesn't want it, it won't take it.
Yes. Yes.
And if it wants to suck for 3 minutes or 10 minutes, it will.
Yeah.
They will self-regulate what they need.
Yeah.
They're quite amazing little creatures.
Another point apparently is hypersensitivity as well. Tell me, I'd love to know what you think, but life outside the uterus is still very new for infants, similar to what you were just saying before. So they may be oversensitive to sensations, noise and activities and just adjusting to the world and just being overwhelmed. Have you found that at all?
Yeah, I think that's overstimulation.
Yep.
They're being overstimulated, yes, by the world around them, by the noises, the sounds, and just by being handed around.
Too much.
Too much, yeah. Overhandled, overstimulated, but yes.
Too much.
And oversensory, yes. They should be put in a dark room and let sleep, but that never happens.
And on the opposite spectrum of that as well, I mean, as they're sort of growing, sometimes a bit of a lack of attention. So the late afternoon or early evening is a busy time for everyone. Of course, dad comes home from work or whatever the situation actually is. Yeah. Older brothers and sisters come home from school, and of course, all of these chores can actually make it difficult for anyone to give the baby the attention. And sometimes, babies, I guess, can feel a little bit lonely too. So have you found that at all? Sometimes that can sort of help.
Yeah, lonely, or they just feel that energy around them from all the activity that's going on.
Yep.
Even though the baby might be in another room even or on its own, all that stimulation around it can just overstimulate it.
Yeah.
But it's just getting used to that.
So there's lots of different things that can actually help sort of contribute to the witching hours. So we've sort of said, well, the reflux potentially, well, but not so much because reflux and colic is something that's very specific. But the other things we said is fatigue, overstimulation, tummy trouble, hunger, hypersensitivity, and lack of attention. But we go into question number 3 now. Question number 3 being, now, what can parents do to make a difference at this time of the day? So tell us, please.
There's a lot you can do. And the first thing I like to look at is the awake time, because a lot of new mums aren't aware how much sleep a baby really needs.
Right.
And I did mention before that a newborn baby, awake time can be 45 minutes only, which is not a long time.
Yeah.
So just make sure that their awake time's appropriate, they're getting adequate sleep and adequate rest. And I always introduce a feeding and a nap schedule, because I think that stops the mums from second guessing. They know that if they're supposed to feed every 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, depending on the age of the baby, that okay, baby's been fed at 10, they know they don't need to feed at 11 because they've had their feed. And if they're on a nap schedule, they know they put them down, they get the rest that they need, and then not getting overstimulated by not having enough rest.
Yes.
So ensuring that is so critical.
Yeah. Really, really important.
Really, really important.
Yeah.
But many babies that are really horrific of an evening just haven't had enough rest during the day.
Yes.
Is what I've found. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just get to that period of time in the afternoon and they just It's too much.
It's too much. And the other, with naps for a baby, they won't always sleep in their bassinet, and that's okay. For the first 3 months, if you need to hold your baby, and I call that's assisting the nap. So if the baby will only nap on you, that's fine.
Yeah.
So those little carry pouches for babies are fantastic because it allows you to do things. You've got your arms free.
I think they're fantastic.
They're great. The baby can sleep, it can rest, it's getting skin-to-skin contact, which is really important for calming the baby.
Yeah.
And that's really a good time is the witching hour because it'll just calm the baby right down. So you really want to calm the central nervous system of the baby during that time. Bathing is really good.
Yes.
Which is often done at 6 o'clock at night. Baby massage is really good. And just lots of cuddles, and when your friends are over, get them to hold the baby because they want to cuddle the baby. So get them to come over during the witching hour so that they can actually just hold the baby. So it's all about calming the baby, having an environment that's calm, no TV blaring in the background, some soft music, candles perhaps, just really making the environment calm for the baby. That definitely helps.
Yeah, and some of these other points that we're talking about before, which is exactly what you just said, and definitely to plan ahead. So to be able to anticipate that this time is going to happen.
Know it's real, know it's going to happen, be prepared for it, and know that it's going to pass. That's the other thing. It does actually go away.
And have you ever found that with any of, do you call them clients or what do you? Clients? Yeah. That some babies don't have or don't experience this, or almost every child?
No, some don't. Some don't, because I don't see those. No, there are some babies out there that just are naturally good sleepers.
Yes.
And they'll be sleeping 12 hours a night from the age of 6 weeks.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that. But when it doesn't, there are things you can put in place that do help.
Yeah.
Help you get through it. Yes.
So planning is another one, which you're saying, and things, for example, like swaddling. Tell me if you think there's a swaddling. Set your baby down in a rocking chair, or in a movement, or.
Well, that's the carrying as well. They love the movement. But getting back to the swaddling, that's the sleep environment. So when you're trying to get the baby to sleep, the room has to be very dark. Swaddling is so important, and a lot of people will say, my baby doesn't like being swaddled, and the reason they don't like, or they think the baby doesn't like being swaddled, is they've got the reflex, the startle reflex, and it wakes them up. Whereas when I swaddle with arms down, and that stops the baby waking themselves up. It's so important. And they'll stay asleep if you swaddle them.
Wow.
And you can swaddle them.
So swaddle your baby.
Swaddle your baby, There's 1,000,001 products on the market to swaddle, and they're all fabulous products. Swaddle them up to 4 or 5 months until they're rolling over.
Yeah.
And that will keep them asleep. It keeps them feeling comfortable and secure.
Yes. Other tips they say also is just to stay calm as well, because I guess if a parent has a screaming baby, this is something that I guess the more sort of stressed you are, the more stressed they're going to become.
They pick up on it for sure.
So something going to, I guess, make them wail a little bit louder. So to stay calm yourself is always a good tip, I guess. And to engage with the baby as well. Keeping your baby occupied and giving them the love and the attention that they actually need.
That's right. That's why bathing's good at that time of night, because you're giving them you're interacting, you're talking to them, you give them a little massage. It's all helps with calming their nervous system down.
Which sort of goes on to the next point, which is giving them some peace and ensuring that all the electronic gadgets, including mobile phones, everything else is off, so you've actually got a calm environment for the babies as well. Do you think that would help?
Definitely. And a dark room. I often will go into a client's home and they think the room's dark, but it's not dark enough. So make the room black. From the age of 6 weeks, babies know night and day.
Yes.
So they will sleep better at night, but also they have to sleep during the day. So if you have that room dark, that will allow them to sleep better during the day.
Yes, and giving them a bath, I think, is something that is quite good. And comfort feeding your baby as well is something that we should be talking about before.
About that, just sort of cluster feeding. Or regular feeding,
as well. And another point is burping them. Sometimes just ensuring that they are
they bring up their wind.
The white noise you were talking about before as well.
White noise is great. I think everyone knows about white. No, probably they don't. It is effective up to 12 months of age. So there's a lot of white noise machines and apps you can use, but it does work. I've seen it. Like sometimes the parents will say to me, "I just used white noise and it worked." So it definitely does work for babies.
And playing music, they say as well. What's your thoughts on that?
White noise. If I had preference, I'd say white noise.
Yes.
Yeah, white noise. If you want music, it's always good to do say a particular song or type of music, say around bath time, so the baby will start to recognise this is the time of day that I calm down. But the white noise is to keep them asleep. That's the difference. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And any like with I mean, how do parents know the right type of white noise?
There's so many apps available.
Yeah.
It's just a frequency. It's like driving rain or a loud vacuum cleaner, rain on a tin roof, that sort of static radio, how they just go bzzz. It's people sort of know, but the lullabies are very different. It's not the same frequency.
Yes.
Yeah, the white noises will keep them asleep. The lullabies will calm them
Maybe
down.
we should do another chat one day on white noise.
Yeah,
that would be
big
awesome.
topic. They're now starting to use white noise for adults, so there's obviously research out there.
Yeah. And then sometimes offering them something to eat or observing for early hunger and sleep cues as well. Have you found that that's something that...
Just watch for signs of being overtired.
Yep.
Again, you know, people will think, oh, they're in pain because they're arching their back, but it's actually a sign that they're tired. So watch for those signs. And if they're hungry, feed them.
Yes.
And they have this amazing ability. If they're not hungry, they won't eat.
Yes.
So if you offer it to them and they don't, that's fine.
Yep. And then just preventing overtiredness.
Yeah, just prevent it. Just do a nap schedule, a feeding schedule.
The planning.
Planning ahead, yeah.
And also shift duties. I think this is something that... Do you tell your clients this to be able to share between your partner and...
Yeah, look, absolutely. But, you know, these days there's a lot of mums that are on their own until Dad gets home at 7 at night. So they've already had 2 hours of the witching hours before Dad gets home, and then he's exhausted. And not everyone has that support. But if you do get the opportunity to have friends over, say, yes, please. Come
yes,
and help.
please.
Come and take the baby.
And I mean, all in all, I think, the article itself, so we would sort of definitely say for anyone with questions, well, first of all, whereabouts can they find you if you've got any other additional questions?
On my website?
Yes.
Yeah, Mother in Touch. Yep. Baby Sleep Consultancy, or just my name, Leanne Trevor. I'll come up as a baby sleep consultant.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah. And otherwise, the link to the article is in the bottom of this introduction, and there's going to be many other topics over time. We're going to be sort of talking and sort of chatting with Leanne. So, by all means, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Rach.
And can't wait to sort of do lots more in the future.
Me too.
Right.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Take care, and we'll speak to you soon. See you. Bye.